This is a perfect definition of the heart of a man is desperately wicked. The nightmare begins in the small, sunlit town of Frederick, Colorado, a peaceful suburban community where every home looks like a dream come true. Wide lawns, bicycles in driveways, children's laughter echoing across the street. The Watts family seemed like they belonged on a magazine cover. Chris Watts, a quiet, soft-spoken man, worked for Anadarko Petroleum. His wife, Shanann Watts, an energetic and outspoken woman, worked as a health promoter and was loved by many in her social circle. Their two daughters, Bella and Celeste, were full of joy, curious, playful, and inseparable. And now Shanann was pregnant again, a baby boy they planned to name Niko. On social media, they were the picture of happiness. Shanann frequently posted videos of Chris playing with the girls or kissing her belly, but behind the smiles, something darker was quietly growing. By early 2018, a terrible cracks had begun to form in the Watts marriage. Shanann was traveling frequently for work, managing her business remotely, while Chris stayed home with the children. At first, Shanann thought their distance was due to his long hours and fatigue, but soon she noticed the subtle signs. Chris growing quiet, avoiding eye contact, losing interest in intimacy. Then came the gym sessions, the new clothes, the new cologne. When she asked what was wrong, he insisted everything was fine, but it wasn't. What Shanann didn't know was that Chris had met Niko Kessinger, a co-worker at Anadarko. What began as friendly conversations turned into secret phone calls, dates, and eventually, an affair. Niko later said Chris told her he was separated and almost divorced. He spoke as though he were trapped in a loveless marriage, painting Shanann as controlling. She had no idea that he was lying, and that his wife was pregnant with their third child. Throughout the summer, Shanann tried to save her marriage. She texted friends about her fears, sharing how Chris barely touched her anymore. On one trip to North Carolina to visit family, she noticed how detached he'd become. She confronted him, asking directly if there was someone else. He denied it, but in her heart, she knew something was very wrong. Her friends recall her crying, saying, "I don't know who he is anymore." When she returned home to Colorado in August, she hoped things would change. She wanted to believe that the man she loved was still in there somewhere. The husband she met years ago, who once looked at her with pure love. But Chris had already made up his mind. He was dreaming of a new life, one without Shanann or the children. Shanann attended a business trip in Arizona with colleagues. While she was away, Chris was with Niko. They went out to dinner, spent nights together, and even discussed a future as a couple. He told her he was finalizing his separation soon. Meanwhile, Shanann texted him constantly, trying to reconnect. "I miss you," she wrote. His replies were short, emotionless. When she returned home late Sunday night, a neighbor's security camera recorded her walking up to the front door with her suitcase. The porch light flickered briefly, and she disappeared inside. It was 1:48 a.m. on August 13th, 2018. That was the last time anyone ever saw Shanann Watts alive. Chris Watts strangled his wife Shanann to death after she returned from a business trip during an argument about their failing marriage. He then turned around and murdered his two daughters and drove their bodies to a remote oil and gas site where he worked. The next morning, Shanann's friend Nicole Atkinson grew concerned. Shanann had a doctor's appointment and wasn't answering her phone, something she never did. Nicole went to the Watts home and rang the bell, but there was no answer. She called Chris, who said Shanann was at a friend's house, but Nicole didn't believe him. She called the police. When officers arrived, Chris eventually showed up, acting calm, too calm. Body cam footage from that day shows him pacing slowly, answering questions in a flat voice, offering explanations for everything. He mentioned Shanann's purse, phone, and keys were still inside. Yet he seemed strangely detached. The neighbor who provided the camera footage later told police, "He's not acting right. He's usually quiet, but now he's talking too much. Something's off." After initially pleading for his family's safe return in media interviews, pretending to be all innocent of the incident, he said, "Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. This house isn't the same without you." But to those watching, his body language betrayed him. No tears, no panic, just flat emotion. Even viewers at home could sense something wasn't right. Investigators already suspected foul play. They noticed inconsistencies in his story and detected the faint scent of deception. On August 15, they asked Chris to take a polygraph test. When it was over, the examiner leaned in and said, "Chris, you know I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you did not pass the test." The room fell silent. The truth was closing in. That same night, Chris confessed, but only partially. He told investigators that Shanann had killed the girls, and in a fit of rage, he strangled her. It was a lie meant to save himself, but investigators weren't convinced. The evidence, phone data, truck GPS, and security footage, pointed squarely at Chris. Within days, search teams located the family's remains at an oil field owned by Anadarko Petroleum, where Chris worked. Shanann's body was found in a shallow grave. Bella and Celeste were discovered inside separate oil tanks. Even seasoned detectives were shaken by the horror. The illusion of the perfect family was shattered forever beyond imagination. Chris was arrested and charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder, unlawful termination of pregnancy, and tampering with bodies. The town of Frederick was stunned. Neighbors who once waved at Chris each morning now watched in disbelief as he was led away in handcuffs. The media storm exploded. Interviews, theories, and debates flooded national television. Everyone wanted to understand why. Why would a man kill the very people who loved him so much and looked up to him as their hero? Facing overwhelming evidence, Chris pleaded guilty to all charges to avoid the death penalty. On November 19, 2018, in a silent courtroom, he was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole. As Shanann's family gave victim impact statements, the courtroom wept. Her father looked at Chris and said, "You carried them out like trash, but they were not trash. They were your family." Chris stared blankly ahead, no emotion, no tears. The judge called it the most inhumane and cruel crime I have encountered. Chris was later transferred to a Wisconsin prison, where he remains in protective custody, isolated from other inmates. Years later, the Watts case continued to haunt the public. Media outlets and reporters revisited the tragedy, trying to understand what drove Chris to commit such unimaginable and heinous crimes against his lovely family. Psychologists described his behavior as narcissistic and emotionally detached, suggesting he was motivated by a desire for freedom, image, and control. But Shanann's friends and family remember her differently, not as a victim of a tragedy, but as a loving mother and fighter who gave everything for her children. Her father, Frank Rzucek, once said, "Shanann was the kind of person who loved hard, worked hard, and forgave even harder. She didn't deserve this." The Watts case became a chilling reflection of modern life, how social media can hide deep fractures behind perfect photos. Shanann's Facebook page, once filled with joy, now serves as a haunting timeline of a family that looked happy but was slowly breaking apart. Friends said they often saw her posts as hopeful. They never imagined those same videos would one day become evidence in a murder investigation. In one video, Bella says softly to the camera, "My daddy is a hero." The world would later see that moment through tears. From his Wisconsin cell, Chris lives in near total isolation. He reportedly reads the Bible daily and has written letters expressing regret. Some visitors claim he found faith. Others say it's just another mask. Investigators who later re-interviewed him revealed chilling new details. He had planned the murders for weeks. He never cried afterward, and he said he felt relief once it was over. The confession turned the case from mystery to horror. He admitted that he wanted a fresh start, a new life with Niko, free from responsibility. But even Nicole, upon learning the truth, she cut all ties with him. Niko later told investigators she wished she'd never met Chris in her entire lifetime. Today, Shanann's parents continue to keep her memory alive through foundations that raise awareness about domestic abuse and intimate partner violence. They've turned their pain into purpose, sharing her story to prevent others from meeting the same fate. In Frederick, candles still burn during memorials held every August. Balloons are released into the sky, pink and blue, symbolizing the lives of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Niko. Neighbors gather quietly, standing in silence as their names are read aloud. The once bustling Watts home stands as a reminder of how quickly love can be twisted by lies and selfishness. The Watts murders are not only about one man's monstrous act, they reveal something deeper about hidden darkness, unchecked deceit, and the danger of pretending everything is perfect. Behind the image of success, a storm of guilt and manipulation was brewing. Chris couldn't face the consequences of his double life, so he chose destruction instead of truth. The story asks a haunting question. How well do we really know the people we love and care about? This can happen to anyone because we are living in the last day, where evil grows daily in the hearts of mankind. But I pray this will never happen to you or anyone else, because no one deserves such cruelty, especially from someone you love and trust so much. From behind the concrete walls of his prison, Chris now spends his days alone. He eats, reads, prays, and occasionally writes letters to people who reach out to him. In those letters, he says he found peace and faith. But for the families of his victims, peace is harder to find. The tragedy of the Watts family reminds us that sometimes evil doesn't always come in the form of a stranger. Sometimes it smiles at you from across the dinner table. May God never allow us to have such a person in our lives. Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and baby Niko's story endures. Not because of how they died, but because of how they lived, full of love, hope, and light that even death could not extinguish. Thank you for watching this far. Please let me know your thought about Chris' story. Do you think he did that because of his new profound love with Nicole and want a fresh start with her without distractions from his family? Or could it be due to his narcissistic tendency and loss of emotions for his family? Please let me know your thought at the comments section, like and subscribe to my channel so you would be notified when I post another crime documentary.